Ready Check Radio. Oh yeah, what's up Internet? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on Ready Check Radio, it is time for the Relic Grind, our Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. I'm your host, just like every week, Mike Byrne, here to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, Square Enix, everything else in the world of Squeenix. Final Fantasy XI on the agenda today makes me very happy, makes me a very happy camper. I don't have the love I once did for it, but I still have a soft spot for it. So we'll get into that and so much more. Thank you for joining us. We've got Twitch chat here live, ready to chime in with their opinions. You too can join us Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. Or if you're listening on one of the multitude of options like iTunes or Audible or anything, head on over to ReadyCheckRadio.com. You'll see all of our episodes there from the day we started over a year ago to all the socials. So you can follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of that. We are like, what was it, 6, 8, something like that. Now I got to check. We're so close to 300 followers. 293. We need 7 YouTube subscribers to hit that 300 mark. So help us out. It's easy. It's free. And put a comment. Give it a like, all that stuff while you're there. You know, feed the algorithm. Spread the love. Joining me, the master of spreading the love himself, Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. And don't ask me what that means. I honestly don't want to know. He just handed me a business card one day that said, Master at Spreading the Love.
Mm-hmm. And all the states. I'm now moving to Idaho to spread the love there, so... Greetings, programs. Don't mind my mess. I'm packing for a move in a couple weeks, but squeezing some time in for the show here because I love you guys.
Yeah. Appreciate it. You know, good luck on the move. Good luck on the move. We will have a show next week as normal, so we'll be back on the 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern, no problem. But then we're going to take the 17th off so that Tark can move. And we're anticipating it probably kind of being a little slower that particular day anyway.
Yeah.
Because the live letter is, of course, the next day. We'll be back on the 24th to examine that. I don't know, Kronos, if you're around and I'm around and we want to do something live, I mean, we'll sit there and live react to it. I don't know if Happy and Sly got something going and we'll get a last-minute invite. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Also on the line, Adam Lane, a.k.a. Kronos. What's up, dog?
Not much, man. Yeah, I mean, I would be down for that. And actually, I was talking to Tark. I thought it was like an ungodly hour, and then I just rechecked the time. It's like 9 p.m. Eastern. That's pretty tame.
Yeah.
For a live letter.
Yeah. I remember the last one, man. Oof.
There's no way. I said
we
last
were all
time,
looking pretty ragged.
No way. There's no way this is a 6-hour live
fourth
letter.
Hour, yeah.
No way.
We said that about the last one, and then around 4 a.m. East Coast time, we're still sitting there with Happy and Sly and just kind of, okay, are we done? I love this game, but can we be done? But what are they going to talk about? You know, the live letter did get a date. We knew it was February. We kind of thought it would be a little later in February, the way Yoshi P was talking about in some interviews. But looks like they're going to do mid-February, so on the 18th. That'll be the first live letter I'll get to see being a 41-year-old.
Ooh.
Yeah, my birthday's like 6 days before that on the 12th, so I'm kind of excited about that, I guess. We don't know a lot about what's going to be on this one, though, and that makes it a little weird because this would normally be, like, you would expect this, Tark, to be like the 6.1 data dump, but they've already kind of teased... Yeah, like a part 1 type thing. But they've already kind of teased that they're going to be saving that till closer to 6.1's launch. So I would assume that, we'll probably hear a little bit about, Crystal Conquest PvP or the 24-person Alliance raid coming in 6.1. But from
Sanctuary, please.
Yeah, but from their own, Island Sanctuary. From their own description, though, it doesn't sound like they're going to get too involved with that. They're kind of, the description leaves it to me, at least to me reading it, it looks more like we're just going to be looking at the extended future of the game, not 6.1 in a vacuum. Literally, the show details where it would normally say, we're looking at this and this and this and this and this. All it says is, newfound features the next 10 years of Final Fantasy XIV and Endwalker Q&A. That's it. That's all that's on the agenda. So what do you think they have up their sleeves there?
Well, I think they kind of did this, he was very forward during the whole 1.0 days, kind of detailing a roadmap of where they were going and what they were improving. I think he's going to kind of do that again with this live letter. He's going to really detail their roadmap, how they're going to move forward, because they also, they have full backing from Square now and they're sparing no expense. I kind of hope that they really dive into the improvements that they're planning to make for the game, where it's going to leave, because we've got basically a whole reset of the story. We're in new territory. We don't know where we're going. So yeah, I would love to hear what their thoughts are, especially since he says that this is, his, I'm thinking this might be his last 10 years. He wants to do 10 more years. And maybe the plans of kind of like a NFL team, like he's the coach, but he's bringing up these people to maybe take his place. So I'm really excited about what he's going to share with us.
Yeah, and 10 years, well, I should say another 10 years, Chronos, is a long time for an MMORPG. It's already, in the grand scope of MMORPGs, one of the older ones that is still chugging along at a very successful clip, right? WoW managed to maintain that clip for a long time. Still has moderate successes today, but I think we'd all agree is on the down curve, while Final Fantasy might be arguably still on a bit of an up curve. But then looking out 10 years, that's a dangerous proposition sometimes for these gaming companies to say publicly. Internally, that's fine. Here's our 10-year plan. But when you start having everybody remember Destiny's 10-year discussion back when Destiny 1 launched? Or Anthem's 7 to 10-year discussion? It starts to be a little dangerous. And I think when you start having those discussions, we're going to talk about some of the questions, because the Endwalker Q&A portion is soliciting your questions and our questions. If you want to put them on the forums, you can. May not be answered, but get them in there. When you talk about looking forward 10 years for an MMORPG, Chronos, you also start now opening up the ballpark, let's say, for questions like graphics overhaul, back-end system management, debt reduction from the technical debt of the PS3 era, and now arguably in the next 2 to 3 years here, the PS4 era. So you start opening up those questions, and I don't think you're ready to actually answer a lot of those questions yet. So does it maybe feel disingenuous to be approaching a 10-year plan like that publicly?
I don't think they're going to go that deep. It's probably going to be more broad strokes, if anything. I think you might get a lot of information on that we already know, about the servers and how they're going to fix that stuff and how they're going to apologize. I think you'll get that whole spiel. I hope.
And that's my concern, though. I agree with you that I don't think they're going to go that in depth. But when you put, hey, these are the two topics, and one of them is looking forward to the next 10 years, and you don't really talk about a lot of stuff like that, maybe it feels a little disingenuous to me. That's all.
Yeah, maybe a little, and maybe they do touch on some of the things that you were talking about, where there's gonna have to be some pretty big, if they're gonna go for 10 more years, it can't be like it is now. I think you can still have the blueprint, right? The patch cycle, all that stuff can still continue on, but I do think you're gonna need to see some graphical stuff. You can't just be having these community members making a lot of these add-ons to make the game look nice and play better. They need to actually have that stuff in the game. Especially since the game's also on console. So they definitely are going to, if they're going to go that deep, they need to touch on those things for sure. I don't know how deep they're really going to go past some of the server stuff.
Yeah, that's why it kind of just feels weird. This is, hey.
It does, but the thing is, there's also a lot of stuff that's going to be in this 0.1 patch. So I'm thinking they got to touch on some of it, because there's no way they can handle all of that in one other live letter unless they're going to have some massive 8-hour, which they might do. They might do it. I don't know. But there's a lot. I mean, you got the 24-man, you got housing, you got to do a whole new PvP mode with like all rebalancing, all the classes. Then you got like, I mean, there's gonna be an ultimate, which I mean, I'd be cool if they just spent a whole live letter talking about how we're gonna get 3 ultimates. You know, that'd be sweet. It's probably not gonna happen, but I hope they touch on it. I hope we at least see it. I really hope we see it, but yeah, I don't know how. I don't expect them to go that deep. They can't just like be like, "Here's our 10-year plan." I think that would be kind of stupid. But
what from a technical standpoint, if we're talking about that, right? Like, I don't expect them to get into the next 10 years, Tark, on like, here's where we're going with the story. Hydaelyn is over, and no. I think they're gonna let that roll out and play so the players can enjoy it. You're in a position right now where very similar, as you said, to the 2.0 launch, where nobody really knew where the story was going to go, right? Dalamud crashed into the planet. Okay, we'll see in 2.0. Well, you've kind of got that moment here. The main story is wrapped up. Where are we going to go? We'll see in 6.1. You have that nice spot to be in where there are no real expectations or, hey, the story better go in this way or this direction or this. So that you could take advantage of. So let's take the story stuff off the table.
Yeah.
If you're doing this live letter or you have a chance to sit down with Yoshi P right now and ask him a question on the technical side of things or a wish list item that you would want to see on the technical side of things, what would it be? And I understand that you're in a little different spot here than Kronos and I, because you represent the console player for Final Fantasy XIV, where Kronos and I are PC.
So 2 things I want to know, what they want to do because there's this whole back end issue with storage and space. So glamours and inventory, bank space has been a real issue for this game. And I'd want to know, what are their plans for that, for glamours? Will they maybe go to a transmog system? And then what are their plans for moving the engine forward? Because after 10 more years, that's a 20-year-old game. That's going to look really dated in the next 10 years, if not sooner. But yeah, and you touched on the technical debt from PS3, PS4. How are they going to bring it up and move forward with the system as a whole?
That doesn't say anything about potentially, being on Xbox at some point as well, which maybe. I find a little less likely than I did in 2021. 2021, before anything happened, like I would have told you it's coming. It's just a matter of when. Now I think we go back to maybe there's a little bit of an if there. I don't think it's off the table, and I don't think it went from like 90% to 10%, but I do think it slid a little closer to 50-50 on that. Anyway, separate topic. I agree with you. My number one thing, and it's not related to just glamour, it is literally storage. Like, I am kind of amazed it hasn't been addressed by now in certain ways. I think the retainer system for storage is archaic. It comes from Final Fantasy XI. That's what you did with your Mog house. And you went to your Mog and you dumped all your stuff on your Mog, and it's just kind of an extrapolation of that whole system. I don't see any reason why gear. I hate the armory chest. I've always hated the armory chest. I get it, and I also like that gear isn't in my main inventory, so I can appreciate it from that aspect. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing worse than all of a sudden looking and seeing like all these different bags at 29 of 30 or 33 of 35, and you're just like, oh, fuck. I got to go through and manage these again. I want collection menus for all of that stuff. If I got that piece of gear at some point, give me a little check mark yes. I don't want the item itself and all of its stats stored in my bag, stored in an armory chest, stored at my retainer, stored here. Yeah. Just give me a menu, and you know what? I understand that there's a challenge with gear specifically, because if you do that, then you drastically change crafters, gatherers, and economy. So maybe I get that you don't just let me have that piece of gear at all times, but let me have the glamour for it at all times if I have possessed it at one point. You know, if I want to equip that specific piece with those specific stats, I got to go buy it from a crafter, make it myself, go get it from the dungeon again. But as far as the glamour, give me a glamour menu. Housing items, I am stunned that housing was so far down the road, Kronos, that I'm not really sure why it was implemented the way it was. Like, they had time on that. That one should absolutely, to me, just be a collection. And not take up any inventory space, not have its own storage bags inside your house or anything like that. Here are as a list of the 7,000 housing items that are in the game. And the ones you have are highlighted. And the ones you don't are grayed out. Done. No storage needed anywhere, and it's a yes-no flag in a database. We're not talking about tons of numbers. I'm not minimizing the amount of data being stored here. I'm just saying it is smaller. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you have it.
Yeah. Even that's a little weird. Like they are just like they love buttons. They love icons for everything. Like is there really a reason for every minion to have its own button?
They're all in 4K now.
Right.
4K icons.
Those icons look pretty awesome, man. Just sit and stare.
Every single one got a fucking button, Kronos. All your mounts.
Maybe that's where all the storage is. It's in icons.
I do have about hotbar, so I can't really talk much. But no, I agree. I have been asking for like something similar to like the transmog stuff for a while. It would clean up a ton of inventory space, and it would just like remove the need for the glamour dresser altogether. I just don't know if they're gonna do it because everything seems to be built on top of the same system, like you said.
Yeah,
where it's all like kind of that way. To me, like it sucks. Like I wish they would just overhaul it.
But I don't think we should diminish this point either. A lot of that I mentioned Final Fantasy XI just because that's where the original concept came from when they started 1.0 development. There is obviously certain aspects of why this is the way it is in the Yoshi P era, simply because that's what he had to start with, and it could not be changed to certain degrees. But if we're going to look forward to the next 10 years, it's time to start looking for some of those things to change.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing that needs to change. Like 100%. It's at least, I think you got to start with the glamour dresser, really. Like that's the biggest thing. Because when they introduced the glamour dresser, it was actually amazing. It freed up a lot of because before that was what your retainers did, right? They just held your gear that you were going to glamour. Yep. And now they just hold the gear that doesn't fit in your glamour dresser and maybe some crafting materials. And so it's like, I mean, maybe they're worried about pissing people off that have been paying for like 3 years that have like 80 retainers, but I don't know. They got to fix it.
I don't know. You tell me that you're going to change the system and free up a lot of space. Yeah, I know. I'll be happy that I can have less retainers and get that money back.
Yeah, no, that's fair too. It's just like I don't know. I do think it's a really big issue, and like in the forum thread, I know we're gonna get into it, but it was all littered there. Like a lot of people were asking about those things, so it's a big thing, and they need to address it at some point. And if this game's gonna last 10 years, I agree with you guys. Like inventory has got to be a big thing they need to like resolve for sure.
Yeah. Well, the questions are on the forums, and as Kronos said, a lot of people are asking exactly that question. So what I did was I asked the hosts to go through the forums, through the official post for the Q&A. Hundreds of pages of questions. 108 at the moment, to be exact. And I asked everybody to take a look at the questions and find some you wanted to bring up here, whether because you thought it was a good question, whether because you thought there was no way in hell they were going to answer it, whether you thought it was a silly question. And let's just say this, gents. If you're going to bring up a question because you want to discuss it a little bit, you think it's a good question, let's give credit to whoever posted it. If we're going to bring up a question to mock it, let's not bring up the names of anybody.
Fair enough.
Anybody that posted it. Let's play nice. So Tark, we'll start with you.
So I didn't put any to mock because I just felt that wasn't worth the time. First one is from Doctor Who 2010. Can we see more rewards be added for Jonathan's achievement certificate exchange, please? Last time something was added as a singular item more than 2 years ago. They made that change because the veteran rewards were going away, and it was like a partial revamp to the achievement system. Use the points that you get from those achievements to acquire those items.
Then they stopped using it too.
And then they stopped using it. But then they've kind of overhauled the achievements, UI. Where are they going with achievements is kind of where I'm leaning. I want to know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, and we've seen the question also. I saw the question posted in the forums here for the other aspect of that you brought up. Are there ever going to be new veteran reward ranks or prizes? And the answer to that's going to be they're not going to answer that, but the answer is no. Yeah. Because they stopped that, put in the Jonathan thing, and then he kind of lost his job as the achievements window allowed you to start claiming things from there. And that's an example, though, Kronos, of what we were just talking about, right? It was a system that they didn't like, that they modified in a certain way, and then they have modified to a more current system in where you open the achievements window and you click claim. They say, and boom, you got it. So we do see them doing the type of stuff we're talking about. But yeah, that's not going to change. That's not going to change.
No. Yeah, honestly, they could probably just remove him if they could figure out how to add that stuff to the actual achievement menu, but
yeah,
they probably won't.
Jonathan's moving to Mericidia. Maybe you'll see him in another expansion.
Yeah, he's unemployed. Of course, a lot of people asking about just can we have more information on Island Sanctuary? When will it be available, and do you have any live gameplay of the area? Do you think you'll see that at the live letter, Kronos? You think you'll see it on this one?
I mean, I don't know, because they're being really weird about it's 6.1, right? Pretty sure we know that.
Effectively, I guess, yeah.
So they have to show it and talk about it at some point. But they have this live letter and probably one more. I think you got to touch on that in PvP at some point. Those are the two big kind of unknowns. Like a 24-man. I mean, we know what it is. It's just showing it to us or whatever. We know what it does. It's a 24-man dungeon. It's the same every time. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not the same every time, but it's this is actual new content. So I think they might. It's a 50-50 chance, honestly, whether or not they show it. To be honest.
What do you got? What questions did you like?
So the first one I saw was by Ito, and it's talking about duty roulette rewards, and it's specifically alliance roulette, and I kind of agree with this. So I hope they kind of touch on it. So I don't know if you guys have ran into this or if you're aware. So a lot of people remove their gear when they queue for alliance roulette, so they can just get Crystal Tower because it's the fastest way to get experience.
Yeah.
And right now, the way scaling works on duty roulette, not just alliance but across the board, is you kind of just get a flat reward based on your level. And I think they need to address that, because if I get Tower Paradigm's Breach, that's 45 minutes. If I get Crystal Tower, that's 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out some kind of way to scale that, and I hope they touch on that. And that might just be something going forward. But I mean, that's more of a generic thing. I just thought it was cool because I feel like that's been an issue for a while, to be honest. So I hope they address it.
I liked this one. I don't think it'll get answered, but I do wish it would, just from my own curiosity. And this is from Double D Reaper. I don't know if they go by DD Reaper or Double D Reaper. I like Double D Reaper. Now that we've played Endwalker, can you share an example of something that was getting reworked during the 2-week delay at release? I'm wondering what can be done in 2 weeks' time of dev time. I trust it was necessary, and I have complete faith in the dev team. I'm just wondering what bugged or what was not up to the quality standards for the release. I think that's an interesting question. I don't think they'll answer it, but I would love for them to be like, you know what, Yoshi P didn't like this particular cutscene, and he attributed at the time that it just hadn't had the level of QA testing. He didn't say there's stuff that's not ready. He specifically went out of his way to say everybody's done their jobs, everything is the way it's supposed to be, but I am making the call to delay it because it hasn't received as much master QA testing as I would like. Yeah. So he kind of left it at just everything's fine. We just haven't had enough time to test. We all know that probably isn't the case. That there was probably something behind the scenes that didn't work, that needed to be altered or something like that. If you work in software, you probably agree with me on that statement, that you probably don't delay just because you'd like some more QA. Extra QA is always nice, but it's probably because there was a failure somewhere in QA that led to needing a delay. So I would be curious to know what that was. They're not going to answer that.
They're not going to tell you. Yeah, I mean, I work in QA, so I can tell it was a bunch of PR, but he took the bullet.
Yes, he did.
That's what he should. He's a good boss. Like, that's what he does.
Good leader.
Somebody found something that was messed up, probably something big, and that's what caused it. Because there's no way they want to delay that thing 2 weeks. So
no, particularly I'm sure 3.5 weeks before the date.
Yeah. I work in QA. I've found bugs late into a cycle, and I'm sure that's what happened. And I'm sure it was big. And I'm sure they had to fix it. There's no way they were trying to sneak stuff in. Like, you don't do that. That's bad practice and just asking to break more things. So I'm sure that's what happened. But again, I think he just took the bullet. It was a PR thing. And I mean, good on him. That's what he should do. So
Tark, one more.
One more. Okay. Let's see. From Gentle Casca, what are the plans for Blue Mage moving forward, and when, if, maybe, can we expect to see maybe another limited job?
Let me go ahead and answer that one for you. Nothing. Nothing and no, in that order.
You don't think they're planning anything? I think you might hear some stuff. I really do.
I don't think we would in this live letter, no.
Probably not this live letter.
No.
Maybe 0.2 or something. But I think they have to, unless they're just going to kill the content. I don't know. But,
I'm still getting mine to 60 so I can grab that minion.
Yeah.
I got mine to 70.
Did you really? Mine's I think sitting at
so
47 or 48, something like that.
I have so many abilities I need to get though.
If you want the triple triad mount, I think you actually have to max it right now.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
That's a mount, not a minion.
Yeah.
One more from
you're right.
Okay. One more from you, Kronos.
So this one's pretty long, so I'm just gonna kind of TLDR it. So it's from Recon 106, and it talks about healers, veteran healers being bored. And I feel like this is an issue that's been kind of ongoing for a while too. But also that I think a lot of people need to understand that this is kind of by design. And if you make healing too hard, that the veterans are oh man, healing's amazing in these high end fights, then no one's gonna clear. So it's it's a really fine line. I think Yoshi P's touched on it several times, and I think people need to stop using the excuse that people are soloing stuff on Warrior or doing 3 DPS, 1 tank extremes, not extremes, experts, and doing extremes without a healer. That's been happening since the beginning of time. That's not new. It's always been the case in this game. That's always been the way it kind of works. And the people that are beating UCOB with 8 tanks, those people are extremely good at the game, by the way. And not a lot of people can do that. So I kind of hope he touches on it though, because I do think it's a complaint that a lot of people have. But it's I think people need to kind of check themselves a little bit, and it's really hard for them to figure out exactly what to do. I do agree though, one button is kind of boring. I think they should probably look into maybe expanding a couple more damage buttons, but
yeah.
I don't think they can make the incoming damage much harder, because I think then you're really alienating people that aren't quite as good at the game, and you want people that aren't quite as good at the game to be able to clear this stuff too. That's just how it is. So
I'm going to go with my last one as being a little more lore related. So I think maybe this one has more of a shot than some of the other ones we've brought up of being answered, because I think in the Endwalker Q&A, what they really want to do is focus on the lore. They said Yoshi P said last week there was going to be a lot of interviews, this week on, what's it called? The not translating, but looking at Endwalker, and how I'm totally blanking on the word. I mean, I hate when that happens. When you're, not explaining, right? Interpreting, yes. Interpretations of Endwalker and the ending and stuff. Those interviews didn't come to fruition. We thought we were going to have a lot of those to talk about this week, but maybe they're going to come tomorrow and through the weekend. But I do think they are going to spend a substantial amount of time in this Q&A, probably on Endwalker lore more than Endwalker tech stuff. And I really like this question from Zarlai. Are we ever going to find out in-game about why Xenos was having a dream about the final days every night? He said he always had this dream, so I'm assuming he had it before he got his experimental version of Echo. Fandaniel said Emmett did something. I'd love to find out exactly what happened. Now, I don't know if that specific question will get answered, but I'd love for it to. And I think there's a lot of little, I don't want to call them loose ends because they don't really, they weren't story threads to begin with, but there are little danglers out there, if you will, that I think are open to interpretation and is probably exactly what they're planning for this Endwalker Q&A portion of the live letter. So if you want to get questions, go ahead, throw them on there. By the way, don't forget, you can celebrate your love in Final Fantasy next week on the 8th, as long as you're level 15 or higher, as we go into Valentine's Day. And we're actually getting barding as the reward. I was kind of surprised. I was like, ooh, all right. We're getting the post-Moogle barding, and that chocobo looks dope. I love that barding. I'm definitely going to, well, I mean, I'm going to do the damn thing anyway, but.
There's no minion.
And no minion. But you know what? I'm the one that, like, looks at the events tark, and I'm like, are there minions? No. Okay, let me mouse up. Oh, yay. Housing, food, fireworks. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to do this for the achievement real quick and just be done. And I know Kronos is even less enthused about events than that, than that level of enthusiasm. I'm actually really happy and excited to see barding as an event reward here. And it looks cool, too. Looks cool. I like it.
I saw a lot of people, they want, like, the glamour for your actual character. Because, like,
they
have the
yeah.
hat now.
Post-Moogle glamour?
Yeah, you can get the hat.
Cool.
The hat's a quest item, but you cannot get the rest of the outfit. So
nope. If you want to vote, the SXSW awards are up. Gaming awards are up. Final Fantasy XIV nominated for 3 gentlemen. So let's see. See if you have a guess on if it has a shot to win. Now, keep in mind, while this is player voted, the actual winner is determined by a weighted total between the staff, an advisory board, and the public votes. So this is not just raw popularity. It is up for Video Game of the Year, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. So a lot of familiar faces in a Video Game of the Year category. Tark, does 14 win, or is it outmatched?
I would love it to win. I don't think it's going to. I think It Takes Two has way too much momentum behind it. People really love that game, and I want to play it with my son once I get moved. But I don't think it carries as well as It Takes Two is going to.
Yeah. Kronos?
yeah, I don't think pretty much the same reasons he said.
Pretty much the same. It Takes Two. Yeah. I wanted It Takes Two to win Game Awards. So as much as I would love to see Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker take it here, I don't think it can. I think It Takes Two is just a juggernaut in the category right now. And then it's up for, let me scroll down here, Excellence in Original Score. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, and its opponents are The Artful Escape, Kena Bridge of Spirits, which I love that game, The Medium, which I very much enjoyed that game, and Witchwood. I'm going to say it takes it. I think it can take this one. What's up, Oz? By the way, in chat, Oz hanging out with us last night. We were doing some Final Fantasy TCG. I think it can actually take this category. Endwalker, I cannot wait until that Blu-ray soundtrack arrives. That was
and good music.
Yeah, and I told you guys on the show that it was the first time in a long time I shut my mount music off.
Yep, same here.
And just enjoyed the I still haven't turned it back on either, which is surprising to me. The soundtrack's amazing. I think it wins this one. Kronos, agree or disagree?
I'd be upset if it didn't win this one, to be honest. I think it should win by like a landslide.
Like not even close. Just take it away.
I don't think so, but I'm also biased, so yeah, like, the soundtrack's extremely good. I haven't cut my mount music back on either, so yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the best parts of the game. So
Yeah, Soken and the audio team just outdid themselves with Endwalker.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're nodding. It takes it there, Tark.
Yeah, I don't know any of these other games. Haven't played them, but so yeah, this is my bias. 14 better take this one. The music is incredible throughout the entire expansion, and Ultima Thule, the way the progression goes to when you have the full song, it's just awesome.
Ironically, that zone is like a controversial zone when it comes to the music, though. Your camera blipped again, Kronos.
Okay.
Oh, it's okay. There's a lot of people that don't like zone music having lyrics in it.
Oh.
And that one is a little bit controversial. I personally like it, but I can understand how it's. Well, I mean, if you think about it from an immersion standpoint, right? Like it's basically playing a song. Somebody singing in the background, and I don't know. I guess it comes.
He got so many memes,
right? Well, they didn't like it in oh shit. Yeah, what the hell's the zone Lahi's in? I can't even remember.
Raktika.
Thank you, Raktika.
Yeah.
Greatwood. They didn't like it there either. They didn't like it. I did, and it's because I think I don't disagree with the point of view.
Yeah, because
the music should like fade into the background and be ambiance when you're just walking through the zone. I just personally don't share that view. I can understand the argument, but I just don't share it.
I think excellence, it's fine to have a mix, but whatever. Yeah, I mean,
excellence in narrative is the third and final nomination. The Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker going up against Deathloop, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Lost in Random, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes or no, Kronos, you get to start this one.
I actually think they lose this one to their own other game.
I think they do too.
Yeah. Guardians look, man, I like Endwalker story. I gave it a bit of a hard time. I don't think it's like better than Shadowbringers. But Guardians is pretty amazing. I don't know if like all three of us have played it yet, but I mean, I don't know. I think it loses to Guardians.
I tend to agree with you. And I didn't even play Guardians, but I've just seen and read and heard so many good things about the narrative that I think it was kind of a surprise almost to fans of Guardians of the Galaxy how good it was. Tark, can 14 scoop it?
Right with you, Mike. I didn't play the game. I plan to. I own it. But it has
you've got a good excuse. You got a move coming up.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been plenty of time, but I just haven't gotten to it. But there's just been so much love for the story that I think, Square takes it for Guardians of the Galaxy and not for Endwalker.
Last thing on the 14 front, gents, before we say goodbye to our Postmaster Chocobo here. This was spotted during AEW Wrestling last week.
Ooh.
Now, this is a credit where it was posted first by who it was posted by on Reddit by Spellblade91. And that sign is tremendous. Lahi, We're on TV host, Cyclone, Hyperion, FFXIV. And the detail in the drawing is just fantastic. Just fantastic. But what's even better about this story than that showing up on AEW Wrestling was that Reddit found the poster, the who was holding it up. So credit to Radiant Indignation on Reddit, chiming in, Lolly ho, friends, that sign was my creation. It was my very first wrestling show ever, so may as well take advantage of the fancy seats, right? My crew had 7 or 8 signs between the 3 of us, so it took everything we had not to ruin anything. Dynamite was awesome, and Rampage was just as incredible. Wait till tomorrow, seriously. Couldn't talk today from all the screaming, but so worth it. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. May you walk in the light. Fantastic. Huge thumbs up here from Ready Check Radio. Huge thumbs up on that one. Moving on, gents, let's talk a little bit of Square Enix and just some other stories around the gaming world. We talked last week extensively about Activision Blizzard being purchased by Microsoft and what that could potentially mean for Sony when it came to relationships with companies like Square Enix. You know, could they be forced into maybe trying to acquire, even if they necessarily didn't want to, they were fine with their exclusivity contracts and everything. Well, Sony did make a move this week. It was not for Square Enix, but they picked up Bungie. They're going to be buying Bungie, Destiny 2 developers, and they said right off the bat, Bungie's going to continue to operate independently. Destiny 2 is staying cross-platform. Like, they came out firing with all the information you would want to know, particularly if you're an Xbox fan. Unlike the statements we've seen from Phil Spencer when it comes to ZeniMax and the Activision Blizzard purchase, where it's, yeah, we'd like to keep it on Sony, but we'll see what happens. Total sale price, $3.6 billion USD. So that definitely falls in line with what we were talking about on last week's show, where Sony, just as far as a cash on hand to spend, is going to be looking at smaller acquisitions. Not to say that they couldn't do larger acquisitions, but they would come in the way of like stock options and different financing or taking on debt. All of these things Sony could do. They're not in a bad position, but would you really want to do them? Looking at this, gents, I got to ask, though. Last week, we were all like, yeah, maybe. When you saw this, in your brain, did the buying of Square Enix by Sony or by somebody else, the odds of that actually happening go up or down in your mind here? We'll start with you, Kronos. Oh, and set aside challenges. Hold on. We should put a little disclaimer on this, right? It would be very hard to acquire Square Enix. It's challenging to acquire Japanese companies in general.
Yeah.
Even when your company is based in Japan and you are trying to acquire a Japanese company, there are a ton of laws that are more strict than America's monopoly laws. Not to say that any of these are monopolies. They aren't. We've already made that clear. Even the Activision Blizzard Microsoft one doesn't come close. Although the FTC is now going to step in and do an additional investigation, which they should. It's a $70 billion deal. Yep. Let's set all that aside, right? Like, it would be very, very challenging for a U.S. company to acquire a Japanese company. There's still challenges for a Japanese company acquiring a Japanese company. Set that aside. The likelihood, did it go up or down when you saw that they stepped in and bought Bungie, Kronos?
I mean, slightly up, I guess. I don't really think that this buy is really that particularly, like, game-changing.
This is a community buy is what it is.
Yeah, because it's like you really bought, like, a singular IP, right?
Well, Sony did say that they're working on 10 new live service games over the next 4 years. That Bungie is going to help with that. And in particular, one title that Bungie is working on that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, I mean,
take it for what it's worth, but it wasn't just grabbing Destiny 2. This was a community play in my book. This was them snagging almost 1 million concurrent players across all platforms at any given point. That was the grab.
They also said, like, I think they had been planning it for a while. I mean, I don't know how much of what they said was BS either, but I think buying Square Enix is still a whole nother beast. Just from like what you're buying, right? Because like the Activision Blizzard deal, that was like a huge buy. Like, I mean, it's a lot of things. Like, this is, like you said, it's like a community buy, and you get right now in the immediate, you get Destiny 2, and then maybe whatever else they make. So I think still buying Square is like you're buying like you're getting Final Fantasy, which is huge, but then you're also getting like all their other stuff, like Tomb Raider, like everything.
Yeah, so and it's important to remember, like we talked about, and the phrase I used was a gaming arms race, which I now fully believe that we are in, and it's going to be a wild 2022 on this front. But don't think that this was a knee-jerk purchase. This deal has clearly been in the works for 6 or 7 months. Like, these balls move slowly down the hill. These things don't happen overnight. So this was going on while Microsoft was doing their thing, and neither two companies, maybe they heard rumors, but they didn't know anything about it. For me, I think the odds of somebody attempting to acquire Square Enix probably went up. But I caveat that real big with the word attempt.
Yeah.
Setting aside legalities, which make it even harder, but I think there'll be an attempt. If there hasn't been already, and if Square Enix didn't lie about it last year when the rumors were there were attempts by both Sony and Microsoft. But I also think you need to look at it probably from Square Enix's point of view. Does it benefit you right now, Tark, to be bought? Or can you survive just being, you know what, we'll keep our just exclusivity contracts going? Like, it doesn't hurt. Like, if Sony spent the money, I think Microsoft would almost want Sony to try to spend the money on Square Enix. Because buying Square Enix doesn't hurt Xbox. It doesn't hurt them. They have very few titles on day one release anyway. So they're like, yeah, go ahead, spend the money. So I go ahead, buy them. Great. I think if you're Square Enix, you're just like, we're good, dog. We're good.
No, I agree with you. I think they're in a space where they feel okay because they also publish a bunch of games for other studios as well. They have so many different fingers and different pies.
And don't discount their relationship with Nintendo. You might think they do a lot of exclusive stuff with PlayStation, but they do a lot with Nintendo too.
I mean, Triangle Strategy, Nintendo Switch coming out. So yeah, they have a relationship with Nintendo that's growing. For a long time they didn't, but it's bearing fruit. The first thing that I thought when I saw this deal was this is the most bizarre deal that I think I've ever seen. I've never seen a deal like this where the studio gets to keep their publishing rights and is autonomous to do what pretty much whatever they're. It's just they're moving all the assets and everything under the Sony ledger, and everything else stays the same. It's just kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Is that weird though? That's Sony's track record, isn't it? Yeah, I mean that's Sony's track record with acquiring larger entities. When they acquire the smaller ones, yeah, they do kind of just like absorb them into some other studio. But for the most part, unless you have like a pretty big failure on your hands of a title, they do, at least perception-wise, give off the aura of our studios have a little more autonomy than other studios do. Now, whether or not that's true behind the scenes, I don't know. I'm not there. But I always felt like Sony tried to put on that persona of, yeah, we own you, but you do your thing. You do you, boo. Like, I mean, they've pushed the indie scene for like the last 2 or 3 years. But they scooped up all these different indie developers, but look, they are still indie. Yep. That's not the way that works.
Yeah.
That's not the way that works, but okay. They're not indie anymore if you own them.
Yeah.
But
so the second thing that crossed my mind, and I don't see a lot of places touching on this, it is maybe part of it is about the IP, because Sony is, multimedia. They can now take Destiny and make a TV show. They can make movies. So they can go and expand Destiny to where something Bungie couldn't do on their own. So
right, but did you need to acquire them to do that, though?
No, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Part of the decision making. So overall, and I tweeted this, that the likelihood upticks a little bit for Square to be purchased. Or attempt to, as you said, and Sony can say, "Hey, look at the deal we made with Bungie. You retain your full publishing rights.
Yeah,
you do what you want. We can offer you that same deal. So you just be under our banner, but you still operate as normal. So uptakes a little, but I think, as we touched on, the laws in Japan, Japanese acquiring a Japanese company, might come in the way of that.
We'll see. I mean, it's going to get more interesting, Kronos, throughout the year. This is not over by a long shot. There's stuff we don't know about rolling behind the scenes right now. I promise you. Promise you.
Jim Ryan even said there's more to come. There's more acquisitions to come. So
Jim Ryan said it for Sony. Phil Spencer had already said it for Xbox. You know what Nintendo said today, by the way? I don't know if either of you two saw this.
Yeah, I did. Didn't they say, hi, we're still here?
They were like, yeah, we're not acquiring anybody.
Yeah, they don't need to.
Don't forget about us. We're still here.
They're like,
I still think Sony doesn't need to either, but they care so much.
I don't
about
think
probably
Sony needs to either, but I feel like they might have been boxed a little bit into a defensive corner where if they don't pick up certain people that they want, they're afraid Microsoft will. Not necessarily that Sony wants to go buy them, but that Sony doesn't want Microsoft to buy them. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Square will buy someone. I think there's more value in buying IPs. Like, we saw this, by the way. We saw this exact same sidetracked, and we'll probably go a few extra minutes because of this. We saw this exact same thing, right? When Netflix got huge, and then you started seeing like Hulu and Disney Plus and HBO Max and all these streaming, CBS and blah, 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 like all these different things. They all those companies rushed out to buy content to throw under their subscriptions. That's what we're seeing here. There's no coincidence in the fact that Sony bought Bungie, has 1 million players almost concurrently across all platforms for Destiny 2 in a live service game at all times, and simultaneously said, hey, in their investor stuff, we're making 10 live service games between now and 2024 or 2026 or whatever, over the next 4 years, and Bungie's working on one of them too. There is not a coincidence in that is what is going on and what they said. This is all subscription, long-term play. You watch.
I'm interested to see what the answer for Sony is on the Games Pass or PlayStation Now or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah, we should see in about 6 months. Like we'll hear about it before then. Don't misunderstand me. We will hear about it before then officially. We've already heard about it over and over just unofficially. But we should know like what it entails and costs sometime in the next 6 months. Final Fantasy XI, there are new interviews up on the Vana'diel site. We are Vana'diel. As we close in on the 20th anniversary, I'm still super excited. We know there's an announcement coming, gents. We've known for a while. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We've talked this back and forth, like what could it be? Like, is it this or this? There was the mobile game being worked on by Nexon, and then that was canceled. You know, what is the announcement, Kronos? What is happening for Final Fantasy XI's anniversary?
You're kind of putting me on the spot because I don't really keep up with this much at all, anyways. Because I just don't play the game. If I had to guess, I'd probably.
Well, you're a terrible person. Then you're a terrible person.
I gave it. I tried, dude. I spent more time installing it than I spent playing it, though. To be fair.
You are an uncultured heathen, is what it is.
Wow.
I'll keep sipping my Final Fantasy XIV wine. Thank you very much. But no, I assume it's got to be like some content of some sort. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy big. Like I don't think it's going to be some new expansion or anything. But maybe you get like a patch or something. I don't know.
How about a full remaster?
That's a lot.
That's
to put on a game that's that old. I don't know, especially if it's that big. I would probably say a patch is probably that. I feel like that's still hopeful, but I don't know. I don't think you're getting a remaster or
so by patch.
Like
let's play. We got to narrow you down here. An expansion?
No, not that big. Probably
Not
more
that
like
big.
some extra story content, maybe some new side stuff, maybe like. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get any like content as far as like
NMs.
Maybe, but I don't think you're gonna get like more leveling content or anything like that, or like a wide story. I think it's gonna be something.
The Obari, clearly it's the return of FF11 on the Xbox platform. All right, so a larger piece of new content, but not an expansion. What about you, Tark? Where do you put it? What is the announcement that we will hear in the next 2.5 months here?
I want it to be like a full remaster.
No.
And then
what is
like
it?
Some tie-in pricing bundle with 14. Like, you know, you pay one price, you get access to 14 and 11.
That's what I think it is.
Those are my two thoughts.
I'm with you. I would absolutely love hey, if they've been working on something, updated graphic engine or what, full reboot or whatever, I'm all here for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you, Tark. 100% thumbs up. But what I think the announcement is end up going to be is that either we're going to see a free-to-play, have it convert to free-to-play, or have it folded into the Final Fantasy XIV subscription at some type of super discounted rate.
I find the folding thing a little hard to believe just because their website still sucks ass.
Yeah,
and
they
need to fix that first before they worry about trying to put a 20-plus-year-old game into the same service.
Hey, speaking of 20-plus-year-old games, what a segue. Look at you. It's like you're learning how to do this.
Crazy.
Yeah, it only took a year.
It's almost like maybe I did another podcast at some point, too.
I know, right? Maybe. Final Fantasy VII turned 25 3 days ago. I actually had to double-check Square Enix. Because when I saw the logos, I was like, there is no way that's right. There's just no way that is right. Went back. Yeah. So there was a celebration stream. No, we did not get any information on Remake Part 2. I mean, we got a little statement about it. We'll get to that in a second. But no substantive news. Here are the new logos. I absolutely love this first one. That's very nice. Yeah, Niabari, I agree. It is a little weird when I first saw it. I was like, what is Zach doing in the 25th anniversary logo as like key art right there? That's a little interesting. We also got this one where we see like the full text version. So the art the same, but the text and font changes things up a little bit. I know they're obviously beautiful. Like Final Fantasy's known for this shit, so I don't think any surprises there. What we did see though were promises to milk the cow fucking dry, and this coming from the Final Fantasy VII team. From Yoshinori Kitase, the director and project producer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then from Tetsuya Nomura, the character design and project creative director. Continuing on from the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier has now also opened for service, and next we have Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, both of those mobile versions. Mobile games waiting in the wings too. With all of these exciting new projects, I get a real sense of how more and more people are supporting 7, not just the fans of the original game, but also those who never experienced it and being drawn to the unique world of FF7. And there will be even more new FF7 projects that started up after the remake coming in the future too. The team see this 25th anniversary as a waypoint on our journey with 7, and we'll continue pressing ahead to even greater things. So please keep supporting us going forward. There's a danger when you do this, and I don't think they care. That's what scares me a little bit. Like, there is a danger when you milk the cow too much that the cow goes dry, and I just don't think they care anymore.
I don't think it's even just milking the cow. It's like, we want this cow to also give off a couple calves, and we're going to use that and just use all the parts of this cow to
First
get
Soldier
as much you can out of it.
I mean, they're saying, it's doing pretty well. They had like over 2 million pre-registered downloads, and
awesome.
I mean, I am going to check out Ever Crisis just because it's story content, but I'm not going to stick with it long enough to like really purchase much besides the little episodes, if I even purchase them at all. Like, if it's not engaging gameplay, then I'll look up your story. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I think there's an awful lot riding on how Ever Crisis does on mobile.
I'm going to go deep on Ever Crisis.
I just think if you throw enough, like, you just keep throwing these darts out, it's really like they know what they have, and it sucks.
Doubt.
It sucks that they know what they have because they're just gonna do this stuff. But like, personally, I'm the guy in the corner that's like, hey, how about you finish that remake first that you started before you do this, because I don't think you can milk the cow dry. I think
Sure
people,
you can. You
I
can
think people
sell
will buy
digital
it
clock
regardless.
buster swords.
I'm gonna buy that.
You're acting like people
living.
aren't gonna buy this shit though. That's the thing.
It's,
It's
right
like
here.
it's probably
This guy right here.
Yeah, it's probably sold out before it even goes up on the site for pre-order.
that's the thing. It's like you. I don't see how you can milk it dry. People just buy everything you put out. It's like you give them a little teeny bit of milk and you say it's like some bougie shit, and you're just like, here you go, $50, and they pay for it because
And it comes from Martha the cow. That's
and sometimes I'm that dumbass, so it's like I get it, but it just sucks.
what I hate is the announcements about announcements.
Yeah, so they did talk
that's-
about Remake Part 2, but all they said is, hey, we hope to have news for you in the next 12 months. And so they pressed and said, so this year, because it is February 3rd, right?
Mhm.
So 12 months, 11 of them are going to be in 2022. And they said, hopefully. Hopefully this year, but definitely within the next 12 months. And I'm like, you left yourself a 30-day window, I guess.
Dude, it's becoming like kind of Kingdom Hearts-esque at this point, where it's like, hey, we're doing
Well-
this thing to continue the series, but here's 80 other
Nomura.
things that you don't give a shit about that are also Final Fantasy VII. That's what they're doing.
That's
Yeah.
Nomura.
Yeah, it just works
ju-
better with Final
A
Fantasy.
little update for those of you that are interested in triangle strategy. I know I am. I know Tark is. I know Kronos is. We all can't wait to check this out. Go check out their YouTube channel. You can pre-order the game now if you want. Pre-orders are up for the Nintendo Switch. But all the trailers that we had talked about on previous shows and how we had to watch the terrible YouTube translations from Japanese to English, they started pumping English versions of all of those trailers. So we've got Benedict Pascal's here, the third one. They have started pumping them all out in English now. So go and check them out. I'm not thrilled with the voice acting. I'm concerned with the voice acting. Everybody in this particular trailer, by the way, everybody seemed very droll. They were just reading the line. So, maybe I'll be leaving the Japanese voiceovers on and just put the subtitles on the game. They're not the YouTube subtitles, so that'll be all right.
I chose not to watch these. I'm buying this day one. I don't want to be spoiled in any way, and
you're fine. You are fine. These are like little character introductions.
Yeah.
If there is something spoiled in there, you are going to have to dig for it and then play the game enough to dig for it in there to figure out, oh, that technically spoiled it. Yeah, don't worry about that. You're fine.
I think these are kind of necessary too, just to
yes,
because this is some game. It looks like some Game of Thrones
great.
type shit.
Faye left Discord. Oh, great. Oh, now Tark's a unicorn again.
Yay!
Now Tark's a unicorn. Nintendo Switch, by the way, we were going to talk a little more about it, but we're going to skip it. Let's just say that the cloud-based stuff, not really working.
Yeah.
Particularly for games newer, like Kingdom Hearts 3 and stuff like that, where
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Eurogamer did a whole breakdown, and it's the frame rates and exactly what we said. Exactly what we said, that this was not going to go well and was overpriced for something that wasn't going to go well. Let's slide over and do Love It or Leave It. For those of you new here, joining us on YouTube or on any one of iTunes, Spotify, Audible, whatever, thank you so much. Consider a like, consider a follow, all that fun stuff. But this is how we end every episode of the Relic Grind with Love It or Leave It. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. Could be a game, could be a press release, could be something they did, could be a piece of something inside a game, whatever the hell I want. And you have to tell me love it or leave it. There is no middle ground on this. Love it, you want more of it. Leave it, you never want to see it again. Today, we're going to harken back to our Final Fantasy XIV discussion. And Kronos, the Final Fantasy XIV forums in total, all of it. Love them or leave them? I had to say it that way because he was going to be like, well, I think it's a great place for them to post questions for live letters, but that's about it.
No, this is really easy for me because this place is a dumpster fire. I think the last time I posted on the Final Fantasy XIV forums was when I killed like some coil fight back when like that was how you like showed people how you killed the fights. You had to like take a screenshot. Yeah,
sounds like you were sending away for your Atari patch. Look at my score.
It's like back then it was all server based, so it was kind of like a prestigious thing. It's like, hey, look, my team is like the third or fourth team in the forum. Like, whatever. The forums are a dumpster fire. They suck. I don't understand how the Japanese people actually use them as much as they do to like actually do things.
It's very a cultural thing. Yeah.
So I it's an easy leave it for me. It's good for a laugh every now and then.
Tark, love it or leave it. Final Fantasy XIV forums.
I understand they have their place, and people want to have a place to be heard, but yeah, this is a big leave it. It's dumpster fire. Push that fire down the road, blow it up. It's bad. I mean, when you get in questions for letter of producer that go along lines of, can we get brighter and more vibrant purples and oranges? I'm like, really? That's really what you want to ask? Like, that's your pressing thing? Like, I leave it. I don't really go on to there.
Oh, I love them. I love them. I don't send them anywhere. Love them, and it's yes. Where do I sign up? Well, you sign up with the loads. Yeah, you sign up on the forums. But yeah, why would you want to get rid of that? Come on. You slow down when there's a traffic accident. And it's not because you're trying to be safe. You rubberneck, you look. You try and see, oh my, there's a dead body over there. Everybody okay? Oh my God, look at that bumper. Look at that tire. Wonder what happened there.
The thing is, there's so much of it that you just get desensitized. You're like, this is just nonsense.
There's also Reddit. Reddit exists.
Reddit, yeah.
Well, Reddit we do on this show periodically. We do our It Came From Reddit segments. Yeah. But yeah, we should do an It Came From the Forum segment.
Okay.
Oh, God.
All right.
I don't want to.
I love the forums. Just because they are a mess. Just because they are a mess. Chat, don't go anywhere. Right after the show, we'll be going live with one of our volunteer streamers here on Ready Check Radio, who I love very, very much. I mean, I'm not saying, hey, I love Faye. I love all the volunteer streamers. But Faye, I do love you too. So welcome. What are you streaming tonight?
Back to Aliens Isolation.
How are you not done with this?
I don't know. I'm slow. I talk too much. I spend a lot of time hiding in lockers, chatting. But we're having a good time, so we'll get there eventually.
You have to. So I guess the strategy of running did not work then last time.
Oh, it did. Huh? It did. Oh, that got me straight through it. Yeah, we booked it straight to the elevator. Boom, done. Cleared that hurdle first 30 seconds of the stream. It was great.
Chat, don't go anywhere. Fade Death will be going live right after the show. We'll be back next Thursday with another episode of the Relic Grind, 7 p.m. Thursday evening. Don't miss Gaming Gumbo this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's our weekly gaming wrap-up show where I'm sure we'll go more in depth on the Sony Bungie deal and all kinds of news from this week in gaming. Until next week, Kronos, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Yeah, same as always. Twitter, not too terribly much going on. Maybe I'll post some more gifs about how excited I am that Tom Brady retired. So,
oh my God, you and me both.
You can also find him on the Final Fantasy XIV forums under the handle.
You actually might be able to find me there. It's just a poster. It'll be like 10 plus years old or something.
Tark, what about you?
You can find me at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. Also Saturday nights here on Ready Check Radio. We're trying to get through Tales of Arise so that we can maybe play Triangle Strategy when it comes out.
You better hurry up. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at MagicMan1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio on Twitter, RAIDEO. And you'll always know every time we go live with a podcast or one of our streamers headed into the fray, maybe against an alien, and you can come hang out and help. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.